If you could instantly do something that would make your wife question the divorce, what would that do for your marriage?
And she immediately noticed a difference. So for the next 3 days, from Wednesday evening through Friday, she looked at me and she said, "So should I just not file the separation paperwork?"
In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the no fluff, no BS framework that helped Josh and hundreds of other men save their marriages, even when divorce papers were already on the table.
Started going on dates, started spending more time with each other, started spending the night with each other. Um, and then the physical aspect came back.
This is the deepest dive I've ever put out on how to save a failing marriage. I knew early on from Josh's mindset and how he showed up in the community that he would get this result. So when he finally came to me with the good news, I wasn't surprised at all, but I was so excited to share his journey with you. I took his lessons and turned them into the Apex framework that I'll show you today.
She said, you know what really made me see you more and made me realize your changes from that point forward, just kind of started progressing.
Before Josh even heard the D word, his marriage already went through a lot of difficulties.
We had some rough patches. There was some history there with drinking, and I actually stopped drinking. I've been sober since February 28th of 2024.
Kicking alcohol took courage and discipline, but another blow landed soon after.
She had a brief emotional affair, very brief, but it was one of those things where she was trying to get my attention. And she did. She got my attention.
This is where so many men falter. A wake-up call comes, but how do you respond?
The problem is she did get my attention, but I did not know what to do about it. I went extremely masculine, but I did not know how to control it. I
Yeah.
did not know how to actually maintain it and navigate the emotions, the trauma, the feelings, all of this. So it was very short-lived.
Soon after, his marriage slid into a cold, familiar pattern.
We were just kind of roommates for a long time there. And August 18th is when she told me that she wanted a divorce.
That news hit Josh like a freight train. He turned to the internet for answers and stumbled on a few of my videos and booked a call with my team.
Just knowing this stuff allows me to show up a little different than what I have in the past.
Those two things alone caused his wife to question her need for separation in just 3 days.
I realized a lot of things just in those two instances. And I started implementing those things. And she immediately noticed a difference. So for the next 3 days, from Wednesday evening through Friday, we were literally sitting in our living room, and she looked at me out of nowhere and she said, "Dude, what the?" I said, "What?" And she said, "I'm having fun with you now." She was like, "It's like if I take sex and the relationship off the table, we're good." She looked at me, she said, "So should I just not file the separation paperwork?" I said, "Well, baby, you need to do what you feel is best for you. I'm going to do what I need to do regardless."
Here's what most men miss. Her words seem final, but they're not carved in stone.
And I could tell, like, she had already completely flipped, because what we learn in the program is this is how they feel right now, in this moment, with these emotions. It's not necessarily what they actually want.
Now, I need to be transparent here. Josh's first changes were really undeniable. I mean, she saw them immediately, and it shook her certainty about the divorce. But this wasn't the finish line. His wife was still caught in what I call the dual mind narrative, when her need for emotional safety puts her one way, but her hope for love pulls her to another. And the bigger tests were still ahead.
She moved out the next day. I moved her to her sister's house. For about 3 weeks there, everything was gravy, because we separated with the intention of giving space, healing, coming back together. In those first 3 weeks, she was over at my house a lot. And then just out of nowhere, man, a switch flipped. She didn't want to be around me. She didn't want to talk to me. She didn't want to come in the house. When she would drop off Harley, she wanted me to come outside to get her. She just completely shut me out. And I didn't know why.
And that's when the real work begins. You see, Josh turned inward and learned one of the 4 powerful principles I'm going to share with you. The first reveals itself in the exact moment when he faced another bombshell. Check it out.
I found out she opened up to me and said that she had been going on dates. And I knew, because I kind of knew that. I just never heard her actually say it. but I knew that she always had plans, whether it was with friends or with somebody. And she opened up to me about going on dates. And I looked at her and I never flinched, man. I just looked at her and I said, well, how's that going for you? And she just, well, there's this. And then these guys, they say this and then they do this. And so she started venting about dating. So I'm like, okay, I get that.
Now, this was after they already separated and signed papers. His wife was seeing other people. Now, most guys would honestly lose it when it came to this moment. They'd blow up her phone, they would demand answers, or they would try to guilt trip her into stopping. And I get it. I've been there. But Josh, he did something quite differently. He stayed calm. He didn't argue. He didn't react in frustration. He simply asked, how's that going for you? Now, that calm, that sense of just ease, I call it affective neutrality. It means you don't let her storms pull you in, her tests to make you react. She's purposely testing to see how you will react. But if you keep a calm composure about you, that's what makes her shift the way she feels. Because see, Josh knew deep down he was the best man for her. These other men were just a distraction. He didn't have to say it. It was his calm certainty of holding his own value that conveyed it louder than any words he could say on top of his lungs. But why does this matter? Because the moment you blow up, the moment you defend, the more you use logic to try to convince her that you guys should be together, that you're right for each other, it signals that your stability, it depends on her validation. And so she sees you as a guy who is needy. And you're confirming every reason in her mind that she should keep her walls up and push you away. But when you stay neutral and calm, her nervous system also relaxes. And then because you're safe in yourself and certain, she feels safe enough to come toward you. And Josh's ability to sit in the fire without flinching was the first step that made his wife really rethink everything. After that happened, his wife gave him another test. He wrote a second letter called the Closed Loop Change Report. Now, we don't always have clients write this. It depends on your situation, which is why it's important to get coaching from our team. But in these letters, you can take ownership without expecting anything in return. And most of the time, it's well received, but every situation is different. Now, Josh felt that he had to be authentic, speak his truth. And when she found the letter, I mean, all hell broke loose, actually.
I had written another CLC, and it was sitting on my entertainment center with some mail of hers. She went over there and she grabbed her stuff and she looked at it and she held it up and she said, what is this? And I said, well, that's for you. And she said, is this something you wrote? I said, yeah. She said, Josh, you have to stop. And the floodgates opened. And I mean, she just berated me for about 25 minutes. And the whole time I held my frame. Looking back on it now, I didn't hold it near as good as what I would now, but I was also nowhere near as in practice and all that. But I held it pretty well. I didn't react. And there was a few things in there that she said, she questioned my changes. She did all this stuff. And of course, in the moment, all I could think was, you're seeing the changes, are you?
And I love how his mind went right to the positive, right? I mean, she was seeing his changes. Each time Josh faced one of these moments, he could have exploded and defended himself, which was his old MO, which would confirm in her mind that the same pattern would play out and there's no changes. So there's no possible reconciliation. But instead, he turned a mountain of erupting conflict into a kind of a molehill of calm conversation, steady eye contact, and grounded presence. And that was a massive win and a huge leap in the right direction. But this was just the beginning. The next principle is going to go even deeper. In fact, Josh's wife herself admitted this was the reason she finally knew his changes were real.
She said, you know what really made me see you more and made me realize your changes? From that point forward, just kind of started progressing.
Now, this next principle, when it was successfully done, it gave him the biggest wins. Her wanting to come around more, inviting him to family functions, even leaving a birthday cake on his doorstep before the sunrise for his birthday. But it took another wake-up call for Josh to finally learn it.
So after New Year, around mid-January, I found out that she finally decided to start dating this one guy exclusively. And it's the first guy that she matched with. And in that time frame, something came up that actually hurt pretty bad. And that was I found out that time when, after that 3-week window, when she started getting really distant after that CLC, she immediately got on dating apps and started dating people. And whenever I found that out, man, that hurt. That cut pretty deep because it was like, wow, you weren't hurting at all. When the reality is that's exactly why she did it. you know?
See, the painful reality that she moved on so quickly, though she was hurting too, opened Josh's eyes to a bigger problem.
One of my biggest problems throughout this whole thing was creating these stories in my head, right? Trying to piece together stories, trying to analyze and say, why is she doing this? Oh, she's doing it because of this. And I didn't look at it as, well, it's a theory, right? She could be doing this, she could be doing that, doesn't really matter. I would actually build this storyline and make myself believe it to be true. So then whenever I would find out otherwise, it would hurt. So I created these expectations or these realities. And then when my expectations weren't met, I just put myself through more pain.
See, Josh was trapped in these mental loops, writing stories in his head and building these castles on quicksand, if you will. I'm sure you can relate to this, because each time her choices didn't match his script, he collapsed over and over again. Her news about another man was the breaking point.
And then she started telling me how, she's in this exclusive relationship. I'm not respecting her relationship and all this. And I was like, all right. So I pulled back completely. And that was when I really had a few just eye-opening moments.
But instead of chasing or trying to meet her every single need, Josh did the most powerful thing you can do.
I stopped worrying about what did Allie want. I stopped worrying about what did Allie need out of a relationship. What do I need to do to get that relationship? What do I need to do to make her want to be in a relationship with me? I stopped asking myself that. And I changed it. And I started asking myself, what does Josh need out of a relationship? What do I need out of a partner? What are my non-negotiables? And whenever I started viewing it from that lens, I realized she didn't meet them. She didn't meet what I need out of a relationship. She didn't meet it. Not that she couldn't, but where she was at in her journey at that time, she didn't meet it. So why am I chasing something, or why am I pursuing something that's not going to meet the standard that I have for myself? Doesn't make sense. That understanding and that realization really helped me to let go. It really did. And the other one was realizing that I still want her, but I don't want her like she is. So it basically took her off the pedestal finally.
Now, this is the power of the prioritization matrix. Josh stopped revolving his life around her needs. See, he pulled her off of that pedestal he had really put her on and placed his own standards and his own needs at center. He asked, what do I need? What do I require from my partner? What are my non-negotiables? Now, this internal narrative is showing your own self-worth. It establishes your own standards, your own boundaries, your own values as a man, what she needs to see in you, to respect you, because respect is the one thing that makes her feel safe more than anything else. And here's why that matters. Studies show that when men stop over-investing in a partner who's pulling away and instead clarify their own standards, the relationship dynamic completely flips. She's able to relax and she will sense that you're no longer begging for her approval. It doesn't have to be literal. It's an indirect, intuitive sense of your emotions are begging, okay? Now, switching this around, it's what creates that safety in her. She feels you going back into your own energy, your own orbit, if you will, because now she's not responding to pressure. She's responding from your own strength. And listen to how it dramatically changed things for Josh.
She immediately started to want to come around more. She started inviting me to things. And then we had a conversation. She showed up for my birthday and left a piece of cake at my front door before she went to work. This was before 6 o'clock in the morning. Josh, that's the first time she's done anything for me in well over a year. She didn't do anything for Father's Day last year. She didn't do anything for me for Veterans Day. She didn't do anything for me or with me or whatever for Thanksgiving. I didn't get a car. I didn't get jack shit for Christmas. Um, Nothing, right? Now, I did all that stuff for her because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't do it for reciprocity. But now all of a sudden, she's doing stuff for me.
Now, small gestures like this were absolute proof his new frame was really working. But he had another moment inside the prioritization matrix that carried even more weight. It came when he dipped his toe into the dating world. And on the surface, it wasn't serious. But for Josh, it became a test, a way to really practice boundaries in a relationship that didn't carry all the past damage with his wife. And when those boundaries were crossed, he made a decision that revealed just how much he had changed.
I can't remember when it was, but my birthday was kind of weird because there for a couple of months, I was dating someone too. And it was really good for me because I was able to put into practice a lot of the stuff that I learned.
Right.
And I was able to hold those boundaries in a relationship that hadn't already had established pain and trauma. So it let me know that I do have the capability.
Yep.
Um, and eventually I had to let that woman go because she was crossing boundaries that I set. She wouldn't pay attention. So I let her go.
See, Josh wasn't playing games or trying to make his wife jealous, okay? And a lot of guys, if they were the other woman, that's why they do it. It's reactive and it doesn't work. His decision to potentially walk away, it hit his wife harder than anything he'd done before.
A few weeks later, we had a conversation and I told her about it. And I told her exactly why I broke up with this woman. That made an impact on her. She told me later on, fast forwarding a little bit, she told me, she said, you know what really made me see you more and made me realize your changes? When you told me why you broke up with her.
Mm.
She was like, because that made me see that you were going to take care of your needs.
Josh took care of his own needs, and for the first time, she trusted his changes were real. And with that trust came a deeper sense of connection.
After that, our dynamic shifted greatly. It was only a few days later that we were at her house and she was crying and we were having a good conversation about some things. And we had already started kind of being a little more intimate, not sex, but more intimacy, more touching, things of that nature. And she was sitting on her counter and I was standing in front of her. And that's when she made that statement and she was crying. And she said, I'm not healed enough to be in a relationship with you yet, but I'm afraid that when I am, you won't be available. And there again, I told her, I said, that's very possible. So things just kind of, from that point forward, just kind of started progressing, started going on dates, started spending more time with each other, started spending the night with each other. And then the physical aspect came back.
He was finally in this place where he was living by his own standards. He was leading himself, and she wanted to be a part of that. But there was still one major test ahead, one that the third principle really corrects. It would prove whether his changes could really hold under pressure and unlock the kind of attraction that, honestly, every husband craves from his wife.
And all of that is remarkably attractive.
That is divine masculine energy right there.
Have a listen.
We're in that phase where really good, a lot of tests, a lot of back and forth. It's never bad, but it's always push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. I have to fight the urge of pushing her and pressuring her. And I can feel it. Sunday night, I was spending the night at her house. And we had a conversation about some stuff. And I told her, I said, well, tomorrow I'm going to stay at my house. And I said, I was like, I don't want you to think I'm mad. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not mad. But I am going to create a little space for the next few days because I sense that you're feeling pressure from me right now. And she said, yeah, a little bit. I said, okay. So I'm going to stay at my house tomorrow night.
Josh told her to give her space and stay at his house the following night. He showed leadership by taking initiative, both masculine traits. But the real test wasn't really saying it came the next night.
Well, it came time yesterday for me to execute that plan. I went over to her house yesterday evening. I dropped some stuff off. She had said something about me having dinner with her and Harley. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I had dinner with them and I was like, all right, well, I'm fixing to go ahead and go. We'll go home. And then she started making little joking comments about like, oh, you want me to just wine and dine you and then you're going to leave? And I was like, well, that's what I said I was going to do, right? And she kept making these little comments about like, why are you going? Why are you going? Why are you going? She didn't want me to leave. She wanted me to stay. But also all I could think about was, that's a test.
Yep.
I told her that I'm going to give her space. I told her I'm going to stay at my house tonight. She wanted to see if all it took was a little begging for me to cave.
Yep.
So I came home. And I could tell that it kind of upset her. I just asked her, I said, do you feel sad that I didn't stay? And she said, kind of. I said, well, just understand it wasn't because I didn't want to. She said, I know. All right.
I call this principle the corrective calibration. When you tell her your plan and then you actually follow through, your words and your actions, they align. They create this congruence effect. And congruence builds consistency and trust and respect. No matter how much you want to stay, you know when she needs space. You do. And you're not too weak to give it to her. This corrective calibration means you don't break your word just to grab a moment of comfort. Let's use Braveheart as an example. From the beginning of the clip onward, William writhes in all that pain, right? And at the end, William Wallace refuses to beg for mercy.
It can all end right now.
He could have caved and ended the suffering, but he stayed true to his values, even at the highest cost of his own death. And that is peak divine masculinity, of not giving in, knowing who you are, not compromising who you are to end the pain. Now, I know walking out of the door when things are finally going well might feel like your guts are just literally getting ripped out. Okay, not really. I'm being dramatic, but here's the thing. This is where the slow descent into neediness actually begins, okay? It's a slippery slope. It begins with not trusting what you need to do to esteem yourself. The other day, for example, I wanted to see my partner, right? I wanted to go see her, but I planned on going out to go to yoga. Then she had time to open up to want to see me. She called me and said, hey, I got my work canceled. I want to see you. I was so tempted to skip my yoga just to go see her because it's been a couple of days. Even seemingly so small, that's where this slow descent happens. It's compromising the things that made you who you were, that she fell in love with, that she respects and admires and is attracted to just to see her. It's the same process of you not going into conflict and upsetting her to keep the peace. It's all connected to this neediness. And this is what we really hone in on and overcome. So the best way to finally overcome this sense of neediness, to have complete confidence in yourself, is to set up a call with our team by clicking the link down below. It is the same link that Josh clicked on and every other guy that saved their marriage. You will get on a call with one of our marriage evaluators. The call is free, but I want you to only set up a call if you're fully invested, ready to make a change, okay? If that is you, click the link, set up a call with our team. On that call, we will immediately point out the blind spots, the things you've been doing and not doing that's pushed her further away, and then give you a proven roadmap on how to get her back based on all the results that we have.
That's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, right? Allowing her to have that freedom, that sense of like no control. You're not trying to control her.
Mm-hmm.
And the result of that is, of course, she comes back.
She told me one day, she said, you're just so authentic now. Like it doesn't matter who you're talking to or what you're talking about or what you're doing. She's like, I can feel it. You're just authentic. It does not matter. You're just you. And I'm like, and I didn't say anything to it. I just kind of looked at her and just nodded my head and kept going.
Man, that is one of the biggest compliments you can get from, I would say, a woman in a relationship, but just from people is, it's like, it's not, oh my God, like you're so nice. Like, oh, we get along so well. It's like, you are who you are despite who I am, right? And that is divine masculine energy right there. You know who you are, and that's who you are.
She's said so many things recently, like she said stuff like, God, you're just so addicting. And I'm like, okay. The most powerful lesson is that it truly is all about you. It's not just words. It's not just a gimmick. It truly is all about you being apex, you being grounded, you being living to your values, living with integrity, knowing your purpose, and all of that is remarkably attractive.
Now, there's one final lesson that brought Josh to that place of just steady leadership. It's where he honed the patience and quiet authority that pulled his wife back into his arms. Now, it's the lesson that separates men who relapse into their old patterns and never change and never get new results from the guys who lock in that lasting change. I asked Josh the same question I asked every single man who saves their marriage, who talks to me. If you can go back a year and talk to the version of you that needed to hear something when this all began, what would you say to him?
If I could go back a year ago and talk to the guy that was just now coming into this program, I would let him know, let go of all timelines. Don't try to force anything. And your life is what you make it. Nobody else controls that, just you. So if you want your life to suck, your life is going to suck. If you want your life to be amazing, your life is going to be amazing.
Josh discovered the power of what we call the expectation detox. When you let go of the timeline of getting her back, the outcomes, the approval seeking, you calm down, you relax, your tension just melts away, you find peace. And that pressure and that chasing, the constant temperature checks, trying to get a validation from her, it all gives way to this calm authority within yourself, this knowing that you're going to be okay. You let go of trying to hold on to her. As James Clear wrote in his book, Atomic Habits, you do not rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And so in getting to this place, I'm going to help you have this expectation detox by building certain systems to prove that you are steady. Because once you build these systems into your life, your identity will then follow suit. So this is what it looks like. You stop counting the days, okay? Stop checking social media. Stop looking at all the little things she's doing. Constantly checking your phone, finding reasons. Your brain's going to find up all these reasons to reach out to her, to get some validation, to talk to her, okay? And then you set a 30-day personal plan and you stick to it. Goals of sleep, working out, steps, connecting, brotherhood, coaching, learning. You set these personal goals in health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, okay? The next thing you do is you write these non-negotiables, these standards you have, the values you have in the relationship. Who do you want to be with? And then ask yourself, what kind of man do you have to be in order to attract her back? You measure your wins by your inputs, not her reactions. Asking yourself, did I keep my word today? Did I stay calm? Did I lead?
I think where that leads into is this like radical self-inventory. Like you said yourself, it's like the man in the mirror. I mentioned that in the program a couple of times, at least once, to look at yourself in the mirror and just stare at yourself and like, do you like what you see, right? Do you like the inner chatter that's going on in your head? Just like, with her just not wanting to be alone, this is the majority of society. We don't like to sit with ourselves, and because we're escaping thoughts that we don't like. And when you could sit with those thoughts and confront them and sit with those emotions, not only do these like monsters under the bed, like they're not as bad as you make them out to be, these stories, right? But at the same time, it really builds your self-worth more than anything else to confront those things, right? This self in them. And that increases your ability to then, like we want to talk about this on a practical level, that increases your ability to be with yourself. Therefore, there's less need and attachment to try to bring her back. It's like, all right, like I do want you. Like I love my life with you and I love you. It's just, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am. Like she talked about authenticity.
That's the essence of the jury. Stop asking yourself, am I going to have her back in the next few months? Because that creates that pressure, okay? I know it seems counterintuitive, but let go of that outcome. You'd be surprised at the man you become and that shift that she feels. I just got off another client call with a guy right now. And at the end of the day, the biggest insight that we had on this call was I got him to recognize that need for her, the fear that he had, that if she left him, he would be alone, that he couldn't deal with it because he looked at his life and he's invested so much of his energy into her that all the things she was doing for him, he needed her. His brain didn't see a way in which he could live without her, even though logically he knew he could, but emotionally it was a different story. And because of that need, he became the man that then she rejected. So it's almost as if, whether you believe in God or not, there is this lesson that's being bestowed upon you that you have to see. That reality, God, whatever you want to call it, it wants you to be this full man, to use your gifts to serve the world. But you can't be that guy simultaneously while you're needing her, while you're attached to someone else, okay? And so when you feel this fear, this doubt, I want you to go into it. I know this is probably hard for you if you haven't done it your whole life, but this is why the calls actually help a lot. We can help you get to this place. But when you go to that place, you can recognize these internal truths about yourself. And when you recognize those truths, that sends you in the right path to get her back, okay? Check out this video right here. It's another beautiful story from a guy who saved his marriage. Set up a call with our team if you need help. I got you. Cheers.